It's great to be able to talk about this topic today, digital contracts and e-signatures. And this is one of the areas that our solution supports, the ProcurePro solution. It's basically wrapped around digitizing the subcontractor procurement process for the entire company. And when you have everyone working from the same system and doing the same process, essentially, the entire company starts to reap the benefits, and the project team especially can start to see, what other project teams are doing, combine efforts. There you might, decide to procure trades at the same time under, a contract there that you negotiate with, greater discounts because you've got purchasing power and so forth. So today we're going to be talking about the digital contract side of things and the e-signatures, and I'm going to take you through that process of creating that contract within the ProcurePro system and then getting it out for signing. So it's going to be linked in with that DocuSign process. The beauty about DocuSign linked in with ProcurePro is that you're not uploading the contracts into DocuSign and sending them out manually and then having to remember that you've actually sent out 2, 3, 4 contracts for signing. ProcurePro manages and reports on that process for you. And I'll show you where that report is, where you can access that directly from the procurement schedule itself. And once that contract is executed, it flows straight back into the ProcurePro system, reconciles against the procurement schedule. So really excited to take you through this process today, guys. Let's kick things off. My name's Emmanuel De Silva. I'm head of sales here at ProcurePro. Just a little bit of background there for those who are seeing this for the first time. We are trusted by leading construction companies right across Australia, New Zealand, and also now the UK as well. So some of those names you can see on the screen here. This is just a very small snapshot of our customers. But again, no doubt many of you, if not all of you, will know who these construction companies are, and some of you may have worked for them in the past as well. So good to note, there's over 2,000 projects on the system, over 45 billion in construction value, and over 90,000 trades now. So it is a well-oiled machine, and we're getting so much feedback back from the industry. Everyone's really excited about where the product is heading as well. So just to give you a very quick summary of what ProcurePro is, this slide here has got a fair bit of writing on there, but just reading it from top to bottom here, connected procurement with ProcurePro, that is exactly what we're doing. We've built this single system here that gives you real-time visibility across your project's people and supply chain. And all the project team needs to do is just simply work in the system to procure trades. Everyone is finding it much easier to do that, to access the templates, compile your comparisons, and then go through to contracts, which is what I'll show you today. And being able to do that inside one system takes away a whole lot of headaches. So here, the system manages your procurement schedules, your scope of work, your tenders, comparisons, approvals, your contracts, which is what we'll be focusing on today, and e-signatures as well. Manage your vendors inside the system, and out pops your analytics in the form of Power BI dashboards that are embedded inside the system itself. And it all integrates with the usual suspects here for Doc Control, Procore, Aconex, the Microsoft Suite, DocuSign, Power BI, and also some of the ERPs common in the industry. So we see JobPack, GeoPS, Coins, for example. Also links to the Australian Business Register. For those New Zealand folks that are online today, just note that it links into the New Zealand Company House as well, and also the UK Company House as well. So that's the system in a nutshell. Now, I'm going to take you through what that looks like. So we're going to jump straight into the system here. And as you can see here, this is the procurement schedule. Now, the procurement schedule here shows you all of your trade packages for this particular project, the Springfield Hotel. And if just remember, if you want to add a trade package, top right-hand corner, you can just click the Add Trades button, drop that straight in, and this is set up with your cost codes. So just to give you a very quick summary of this view that you're looking at, you've got the vendors column here. We've got some important information about the budget, the forecast final cost, and the gain loss. We've got the target let date, the start date on site, and we've got the next milestones as well, and the status. So just remember that the next milestones here, if I click on that first example, the scaffold trade, we can see all the default milestones, including the default durations. Today, we're going to be focusing on that subcontract compilation and execution component, which links into DocuSign. But important to note there that that milestone is linked to the task of signing the actual subcontract. So when the subcontract is signed, this ticks off automatically, right? Turns green. That all flows through to your reporting, and the contract comes back inside the system and stores itself on the procurement schedule here. So your procurement schedule becomes your filing cabinet for all of those executed contracts. Now, let's go into an actual trade here. So today we're going to go into the earthworks package here, and this is what we call the trade dashboard here. Left-hand side, we've got details about the trade. And in the middle here, we've got the scope generator, we've got the vendor selection module, and we've also got the contract generation module here. So today we're going to be focusing on contract generation, but before I do, I'm just going to take a step back into the vendor selection module here. So you've got some context as to how the information flows through to the contracts module, and then we'll see how to compile that actual contract and get it through DocuSign for signing. So here I'm going to jump into the vendor selection module. Now this all starts right back from when you're inputting these vendors into this module here. These are the vendors I want to go out to tender. So I have created that tender package. I've gone out to tender with my price breakdowns. Those quotes have come back in, and as you can see, I've received those quotes back here. Right, so that's the system is updating that automatically. At that point there, I've simply hit this view comparison button. I've pulled all of those quotes together in a single comparison. I've done my detailed comparison. If I click on here, you can see that detailed comparison done inside the system, and you can edit that in Office Online. Once we do all of that, go back to the summary page. These numbers here are represented on the front of the page here. And this is what's going to flow through to the recommendation and then also the contract as well. So here I simply hover over the vendor, select the vendor here. And again, just note that I'm moving through this process at pace here because we want to get to the contract signing process. So I'm showing you what happens in the background for that information to flow on. Once I've selected that vendor, I go over to the recommendation, and you've got the entire recommendation set up according to how your organization has set that up for you. Okay, so now here we can see the actual subcontractor that we're selecting. I can view the vendor history for the tender. I can see what other projects that they're tendering on, for example, what contracts have they been awarded, but also the ratings is another important one, and I can see how they've been rated across the company schema of quality, HSE, communications, cooperation, cost, and program. Right, and I can talk to whoever rated them on whatever date. I can start to talk to them within the company. So moving down here, just on the recommendation, we've got project trade milestone information, the pricing summary. You've got the price breakdown here, budget, forecast, and also the savings. Moving down, integration with your ERP for budget reconciliation, so we can see what budgets are in the ERP, the commitments here. And then going through to non-cost comparison, commercial term, contract conditions, vendor due diligence. Some of this information might make its way through to the actual contract. You'll see that in a moment. Vendor supplied documents and required attachments. So specifically the signed scope of works, the tender interview, the document register, for example. These are attachments here that I want to, I need them to be in the contract as a standard, right? And I'll talk about how that contract standard is set up. Compliance documentation against the vendor profile, and then basically putting that summary, opening the approvals drawer, and sending that through for approval. Now, once that's gone through for approval, I'm going to go back to the dashboard here, the trade dashboard, and that's when you then create that contract once that approval is finally signed off. Here, I'm going to hit generate contract, right? Now, before I do that, I just want to take a step back and go into the actual library section here to show you how the contracts are actually configured, right? So I'm going to go into the library. Here, you can see that on the left-hand side. And I'm going to go down to the contract templates here. Now, we set up all of your contract templates to begin with, right? And we basically give that to you guys. The administrators of the system have full access to that. But I'm going to jump into the design and construct contract here to begin with. And you can see that these contracts are set up using these smart fields that we then populate in the contract template. And that's how the system knows to find that particular field in the contract and input that information from the recommendation or based on where that is linked. So these are the content fields here, right? And we've set all that up for these contracts here. You can see that on the right-hand side. Also the annexures as well. These tags here, the system will go through the contract and find these tags to input the tender interview minutes, the construction program, the scope of works. And remember that those were documents that were on the required attachments on the recommendation, right? So that's how the system is finding the exact position of where to put that in that contract, and then it slots the actual document into that place. And also the signature fields as well. So here we've got set up and tagged in the contract the position where we want the first sign signatory, right? Where we want their signature to be placed, where we want their name to be placed, for example, their initials and so forth. That's all tagged up inside the system. That way, DocuSign will be able to find those tags and put those signing requests in those places directly, right? So we'll be able to see this as we go into DocuSign, but just note that that is all configured inside the contract template. So once that contract is configured, and remember, we do that for you as part of setup. So all the project team need to do is go back inside the system here and generate the contract. Select from your list of approved contract templates, design and construct. That's the one we just had a look at inside the library. So I'm going to select that, hit generate. And here we're in a 3-step process. So you can see we enter the subcontract details as step 1. We fix the annexures as step 2, and we get it out for signing as step 3. So step 1 here, you'll notice that this information is coming through from the required, from the actual recommendation, right? The annexures are coming through as the required documentation on the recommendation. But if I go back to step 1 here, all that information that flows through, I can hit generate contract, and the system will now slot these values into the correct position in that subcontract template. And you'll notice down the bottom right-hand corner here that I can edit that in Office Online if I need to do further editing to that, right? So it takes care of that, it's fully flexible for you guys to be able to, run down the path of that complete templated process. You're using the subcontract templates that are approved by the organization, but giving you the ability to input, pieces of information that make this trade specific and project specific if you need to. There, step 2, I'm going to go to the annexures. Here, you can see the required attachments coming through. Maybe that scope of works has been version 2 or version 3 that's been negotiated with the subcontractor, but I know that that's coming through, so I don't have to find that in my project folder or in my emails and try to pull it through to the contract, which is often one of those risks that we hear from the industry, that the scope, the right version of the scope has not been included in the subcontract. So here, that's eliminated. I know that that's coming through. I'm going to hit compile PDF, and that will pull everything together in a single PDF document for me. It'll compile the entire subcontract for me. This is that process here that you guys will be typically doing in Adobe Pro, for example, right? And having to find all of those annexures and pull together your PDF contract. And I've just done that with one click. And you can see, I'll scroll down in this contract here, the signing pages here, which we'll take a look at in a second as we go through to DocuSign. This is just an AS standard contract here. Now, step 3 is the signing part. So I go here over to signing. Now you've got 2 options here, right? First of all, I'll just quickly speak about wet signatures, right? If I click on that option there, this gives you the ability to download that contract here, right? Mark it as sent, mark it as signed, and upload the executed copy, right? So for those of you who are doing this process already without using any e-signature platform, this is exactly what you'll be doing there. And as you upload the executed copy, you'll be able to see the sent and executed copy side by side. So again, that's storing it inside the system, and this all flows through to your reporting. I want to cancel that wet signature though. Go back to signing, and I want to go into the e-signature part. Now, clicking on the e-signature component, it's now uploading the contract into DocuSign. So important to note, we've got that seamless integration with DocuSign itself, and we're using DocuSign because DocuSign actually gives you complete flexibility over that signing process there. We've also been able to negotiate a very good partnership with DocuSign. For those of you that are on the line now and considering to get DocuSign and also considering to get ProcurePro, please allow us to talk to DocuSign first, because then you can take advantage of our partnership rate, and that way, you'll obviously get a better rate as you go through us, basically. Now, this is loading the contract into DocuSign. It's also tagging the contract up, right? And in a moment, we'll go through to DocuSign and take a look at what that looks like. But important to remember that those tags are being located in exactly those positions that we saw set up inside the library. And you can see here that this is now the DocuSign interface. It's taken me straight into the DocuSign interface. For those of you online that know what this interface looks like, if you've uploaded a document into DocuSign and used DocuSign before, this is the exact signing page here where the contract is uploaded. Here you can see that 97-page contract. And then below here, the recipients are automatically added in. Now, where do these recipient names come from? They're actually coming from the subcontractor's vendor profile, right? So those key contacts under the vendor profile back in ProcurePro, that's actually coming through to this section here, and it's starting to link those back in here. So you can see here, we've got there, the subcontractor's signatory, we've got the witness, we've got the builder's authorized signature, so that comes back to yourselves as a builder, and then the builder's witness. So, and that's all sequenced there. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go to next, and we're going to take a look at what that subcontract looks like. I'm just going to zoom out just a little bit here so we can see that here. And if you look on the right-hand side, we've got some signing tags just on page 3. So I'm just going to scroll down to page 3 here, and you can see that DocuSign has found those tags, right, and put in the associated signing requests right here, right? And you can see that's for signatory 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And that'll do that right throughout the document according to what kind of format your contract looks like. Once you hit send, that will just send a DocuSign request straight out to those to the subcontractor and to the signatories. They will receive that in their email system. They go through and just execute that sign-off process. But let's actually jump back inside the actual system itself and take a look just back on the procurement schedule in that to-do list right here. Now, this is the project to-do list, and I'm going to go to the signatures page here. And here's where ProcurePro monitors the sign-off process for all of those trade packages that are currently out for signature. So these are ones that I've sent out previously. I'm going to click on the concrete place example here, and you can see the subcontractor has signed their portion, right? Tick, tick. And it's back to us, the builder, to sign ours. So it's currently with my director, Fred, for example, right? And that's where it's pending signature. I can go talk to Fred and say, hey, Fred, can you sign this, please? Because these guys are coming on site Monday and I need the contracts executed, right? And that's simply how you do it. You can view that back in DocuSign, but you can go in the actual trade itself and also, if there's any changes that need to be made, you can cancel that from within the actual contract signing page of ProcurePro, and then recompile it and resend it out as we've just seen. Now, another thing there that I just want to talk about is if we go back to the list view here, right, and we look at that status column here, you can see that the system, right, and this example here is for piling and retention, the system will monitor that process here. So the project team, you guys don't need to be reporting or updating Excel reports on the side and giving them to management at the end of the month, right? This will automatically track that for you. You can see this contract here is out for signing at the moment, right? And as soon as that's executed, you can see that that's signed. As soon as that's executed, comes back into the system and reconciles itself against the procurement schedule for the next milestones, but also then stores the contract inside the contracts module there. So that's that round trip there, back through into ProcurePro there. The last thing that I want to take you through and talk about is the reports, right? And you can see we're in the reports on the left-hand side here. Now, everywhere where you see in each one of these reports, you'll be able to see that contract signed section there, right? And also the contract status here. So you can see this is the overview report for all of your projects at the moment here, and I can see what contracts have been signed and what contracts haven't. been signed. But if I go to the procurement summary here now for, we're looking at any specific project here. Let's just click on the Albanese Arts Centre, for example. Here we can see all of the trade packages here, but if we go over to the right-hand side, we can see the contract status. So that contract status is coming straight out of the project. It's telling me exactly what is happening, if there's a contract signed, if it's not started, or if it's out for signature, which means requested, right? Signatures have been requested for that particular package there itself. Right. Last report there that I just want to show you there is the approved but not yet signed. This means the trade package has been approved, but the contract has not yet been signed. And I've just filtered on the Esperance Eco Resort project there, and you can see we've got 8 contracts that have been approved, 8 trades that have been approved, but the contracts have not yet been signed. And just looking at the trade packages there, if I look on the right, the contract status, we've requested the signatures there for one of these packages here. In fact, 2 or 3 of these packages, but a couple of them have not yet started that process. And we're looking at 2 of those packages that are currently in drafting phase for those contracts. So that information you can see is flowing straight through to the reports, and you'll be able to see that straight away. And that's where, the project, the organization can monitor what's going on, and then quickly make sure that those contracts are executed, because if they're not, that can relate to what we call escalation risk, right? The subcontractor, without a signed subcontractor might turn around and say, oh, well, you guys have taken too long. I haven't got a signed contract with you. I've signed another contract with another project, and I'll be moving up to that project, and my rates now for you have increased. So that's that escalation risk that you want to try to avoid. All right, excellent. So that's what I wanted to take you through today. We'll flick over to any questions there. So if I could get anyone in the audience there to ask any questions, feel free to shoot them straight through, and I'll be able to see that there as it comes through the chat. Okay, we've got one question here. So how much faster would you say getting digital signatures back, so it's worded a little bit differently, back is compared to the wet signature process? Okay. So in terms of getting digital signatures back and the wet signature process there, it varies from company to company. It obviously depends on how hard the project team are pushing the subcontractor to sign the actual document. What we're finding is it's much easier for the subcontractor to sign the document digitally than it is for them to sign it hard copy, right? Or even receive that contract via email in a PDF and go through and sign that. It's much easier for them to sign it through that DocuSign process. So we're hearing things like, on average, it used to take 30 days or a month, 1 to 2 months even, and some of those subcontracts never even got signed while the subcontractor was on site before they started using the ProcurePro DocuSign solution. So after they implemented the ProcurePro DocuSign solution, we're hearing that has dropped to an average of about 2 to 4 days. So you can see that difference there from about 30 days on average right down to 2 to 4 days is a massive decrease in that time taken to get a contract signed. So we've got another question here. What's the most common feedback you've had to these features? It's a good question. We get a lot of feedback for these features here. Probably one of the biggest ones there is that it is integrated into the procurement process itself. So it's that end-to-end procurement process that needs to be managed and not doing that in siloed systems, right? So just using DocuSign itself, or even not using an e-signature platform, right? There's still that manual process to compile the contract, to get it out for signing, record it in your spreadsheet or wherever you want to record it, that you've sent that contract out for signing. And now you need to remember to, follow up, get the contractor to sign it, and then bring it back in, commit it in your finance system and store it, right? So they're all manual tasks and manual processes that everyone in this audience here today will have no doubt done, right? Or you will be doing. And when you've got those manual processes not linked into a full end-to-end process, then that's where you need to then manage each of those manual processes, and remember that you have actually done these things, right? And those of you who are meticulous in reporting, you might find that, you might not have a problem in meticulously putting down the fact that you've sent 4 contracts out for signature and, 2 are sitting with the subcontractor, 2 are sitting with your director, for example. But for those of you who actually have a lot on, and I'm not saying that you don't, but obviously as you progress the project, you have a lot on, and some of those things might tend to be forgotten, right? That's where, having an end-to-end process starts to glue all that together. So one of the biggest pieces of feedback is that it's connected into that end-to-end process. That sign-off process is connected back into the procurement process in ProcurePro, and you can manage everything from that one solution, that one interface being ProcurePro. The other bit of feedback there that we get is the reporting, right? You don't have to do your your Excel reports and give them to your management team at the end of the month. People just do their job, get on with it. We're seeing a lot of people put up their hand earlier to say, hey, we have a problem here or a potential problem coming up. And that way, the commercial managers and your senior level people inside the organization can come together and help you out to get those packages over the line, because it's in the interest of everyone in the organization to make sure the project goes well. So it's about putting up your hand earlier, and that's the kind of culture that ProcurePro drives: more transparency across the organization, and a lot faster to get your risks mitigated. So we've got another question coming through here. What is the most surprising benefit of digital contracts to your users? So probably one of the biggest benefits there, or the most surprising benefits, is in fact that contract compilation process, one click, get it straight into DocuSign, right? That entire ritual, I'll use the word ritual because it's a big process there for some organizations to go through, that reduces a lot of time and effort in that process and allows people to get on with the job. Excellent. Well, that's all we have time for today, guys. Thank you so much for participating, and you will see this online. My details are just on the screen there, so please don't hesitate to take those details down, scan that QR code there, get in touch. I'll be more than happy for myself or one of the members of our team to give you a full demonstration and run through of how the system solves procurement, right? The end-to-end procurement process. But good to note that this is the way the industry is heading. It is inevitable that this process here gets digitized. The entire procurement process gets digitized. And once you get into it like this, there's really no turning back. You'll want to do it the digital way each and every time, as opposed to having the heavy administration load on you to get your subcontract signed. Thank you very much.